we're talking about announcing that we're going to have to cancel or postpone the tour that we have announced. The reason of that is because of a health emergency that has happened to me. It's also scary, and it's also um, really hard to know that we have to feel, or at least that I have to feel, like I'm, letting people down, because that's just, I don't want to do that. This was like a hard decision to come to. We didn't make it lightly. Um, a few weeks ago, we had built up this, you know, momentum, and we said, okay, well, we think it's time to book a tour. We signed with a booking agent. We got tour planning and all that. It became very real. That was like, okay, we're doing this, and we were just so humbled and couldn't believe. You can take over if you want.
So yeah, everything that you said, I agree with. Completely humbled. Did not expect it to happen this fast. People are always asking us like, when do you guys sleep? Because we're working around the clock, and we truly believe that what we're doing is mission focused, like getting this music to as many people around the world as possible. We were seeing some people write us about uh, like how they got out of like bad relationships because they heard our music or because they didn't. We got one the other day, man, that a woman didn't, you know, take herself out because of our music, and so we do it for a much bigger reason than attention, and so we put so much energy and time into bringing this to life, uh, that this moment is just another piece of um, that struggle and sort of like the overcoming that we've had to do in our personal lives in general. Both you and I have some pretty wild lives that we've lived. So this is kind of just another large mountain that, you know, you have to go through, and we're here with you for that. And it's just happening at a time at the same convergence of the highest point of our, careers or missions. So, um, but I always want to keep the precedence of, in 5 years, we're going to look back and just say, that's that thing that happened. But it's not the thing that defined us. It's just the thing that happened. And that's the reason why I don't want you to feel any disappointment. I don't even want you to feel stress about all this other stuff. When we were first talking, I said organizing, I can handle all that stuff. All the organizing, all talking to people, getting stuff aligned, we're good. We have a great team. Management's great. Booking agents are great. We have great people who aligned with us. So the only piece that, if I could, give you any insight from what our side is for you to only focus on the health part, to only focus on the healing part, and to allow the music to touch the people that it will, and allow us to help you support, and just know you have an army behind you to handle this. It's not you going in. It might be physically going in, but it's not going you in when it comes to support. It's not going into you when it comes to prayers. It's not going into you with people who love you. Like, that part isn't. And so no matter where we're at in our careers or lives, that's has to be the precedent always pushing forward, is that it's never really just us by ourselves. It's really important that we understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, like when you said, like with the timing too, it's like it can't help but beg the question, like,
Why?
well, sort of like, obviously in life, shit happens, right? When
Yeah.
we don't expect it. And that's part of life.
Yeah.
But then you go, okay, well, you've got these two things that sort of simultaneously occurred at the exact same time. And, you know, part of you just wants to go, now, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think there could be personally helpful ways in interpreting it either way, either that it does mean a certain thing or that it means absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, so after we announced the tour and we sold out the tour, um, there was so much to organize and to get ready, and I had some sort of like health stuff that I figured was more of an annoyance than anything, um, and so it was, we had about 5 or 6 weeks to get ready for the tour, and so I said, okay, well, we're just gonna, you know, make sure we get checked up and that health is on point and everything's ready to go and be ready for the tour. So I went in, for something fairly, um, you know, I don't want to say routine, but just something that was, kind of bugging me that didn't really, wouldn't think that would amount to much. So I go in for this sort of checkup thing, and and as we are doing the checkup, some other things pop up and kind of go, huh, okay, a few things that we might not have been expecting. Um, but still, whatever, we'll get through it. We got, 5 or 6 weeks before the tour. So whatever it is, we'll figure it out. And then a couple days later, we did a pop up show in Leiper's Fork, which was unreal. It was almost just like a dream because of the support and the love and everything that we felt there and the connection to the people that we were playing around. And it was a very confusing moment for me because I was sort of in a limbo where I was like, okay, I'm kind of waiting for some results here that I don't really know exactly what's going on. And I don't fully feel 100%, but I'm still here and I'm still playing this show. And we also had, all the support and love that we felt there. So it was two very like, you know, polarizing kind of feelings at the same time. Um, and then I think it was probably a few days after that, and we were in the studio working on something or other. I think we were getting ready to do some recording of something, and phone rings. Pick up the phone. Oh, okay. Hey, it's the doctor. So I got to step out of the studio for a second. And so I walk out and walk into the park, and the doctor gives me kind of a, quick, hey, here's sort of what we found, and here's what we think it could be. And the result and the language and everything, without going into detail, was some pretty scary language. So um, I think in that moment, I kind of I went into like a sort of shutdown slash survival mode, and I didn't really know how to do anything. The only thing I knew how to do was kind of like go be alone, I think. And so that's when I walked back in the studio and I said to you, I said, "Hey, look, I gotta go."
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could sense that something was not like
Mm-hmm.
quite.
Yeah. I said to you, I can tell something's on your mind, but you don't want to tell me right now. So I'll let you do it on your own time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So then from there, it became apparent, that I had to address what was going on, and that, I was not going to be um, mentally fully there with what was going on with, what we were doing musically and everything until I could sort of understand a little more about the position that I was in and what exactly needed to happen next.
Yeah.
I think at that point it became about, okay, now we really need to find the right doctors, and we need to find the right place for me to be in terms of being around the right people that in my case, it's spending some time with family and being around people who can sort of help pick up because it's been a lot trying to figure out doctors, appointments, getting to and fro, managing my, anxiety as I go along. And so that's been sort of the past week or so, dealing with that. And you've just been, keeping, like you said, keeping the train moving, and being just supportive and understanding about it. So we got to a point where we felt like, okay, this is the right team of doctors. This is the right place to be. I felt like a lot of things have fallen into place, um, to where it could have been so much more difficult, and timeline wise and everything. And of course, with all of the doctors as we've been speaking to and all, they all know about, the tour. They all know about like everything. And some of them are even fans of our music. So, it's just crazy. Um, I had to kind of like go through a bunch of stuff. I went through, a bunch of, God, so many tests, so many, scans and blah, 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 you name it, all the stuff, right? Which is just, I think, more nerve wracking than anything else. Um, just the idea of like a couple of weeks ago, we were here planning a tour. Now I'm here inside a machine getting my body scanned. So it's just weird. It's just a weird reality. But at the same time, it's like, thank God for modern medicine, and thank God for the ability to, live in a place where we can get the right doctors and get the right help that we need. Um, and this would have been a lot different, even 50 years ago or
Yeah.
100 years ago, right?
100%.
They wouldn't be able to give you, answers or have, the types of clarity that they can get right now.
Yeah.
So, um, so after running through all these testings and all this stuff, and the nerves associated with it all, and waiting and refreshing the page, or when are these results coming in, I have to express a lot of gratitude. The results are a lot of, the best thing that we could hope for in a bad circumstance. Um, that among this among this one among this one big piece of bad news, there's so many little pieces of good news inside it, and that gives us all the hope and, strength and faith that we are just going to get through it, and that we're going to come back, having walked through yet another challenge in life. So the bottom line is, I am going to have to go into surgery. Should be this week. uh, and we've been waiting as long as possible to know exactly, well, will I have enough time to recover before this tour, right? we've talked about, you know, multiple different possibilities on how we could do it, and and we rushed to get into a date for surgery that was the soonest possible in order to try to, make this work timeline wise. And as we're sort of looking at it now and understanding the reality of it, and having finally spoken with, having it all, teed up, ready to go, spoken with the doctors and everything, and talked about what this recovery is going to look like, that is how we came to the conclusion that, you know, it's come at a time where I will still be in recovery, while we would be playing the tour dates that we're supposed to be playing coming up. And so recovery is, we know that it's something that we're going to get through, but we also know that the body needs to heal, and it's going to take some time. We spoke on the phone, and I think just collectively came to a very, very difficult decision that we were going to have to push back these dates, um, and just know that, the fans who were going to be there to see us, that we're going to make it up to every single one of you.